Most of you might recall that our 4th ever video was me talking about Kings of War. And I still have a good soft spot in my heart for this game. It's still a cool little game with really cool mechanics. And now, less than 2 years later, I get to talk about the new version. So yes, this is Kings of War 2nd Edition, once again from Mantic Games, and this is good stuff. Now, I'm not going to dive into all the rules and all that stuff. If you want that, you can just click here, watch the old video. I go into it in that, even though that video was kind of terrible. No, instead what I want to talk about is mainly rules change. Basically what's changed from this to this. But first let's talk about the book as we do. It's a nice little hardcover book coming in a little over 200 pages, but it's a weird size. I mean, the 1st edition is kind of what we consider your standard size gaming book, right? But look at that. I mean, it's shorter and it's skinnier. It's just kind of odd. As usual, Mantic keeps up their pace of filling the book with wonderful art, full color photography of the miniatures. There's black and white art and there's color art, so you get a little bit of both. So what do you get in this book? Well, you get the fluff, and there's quite a bit of it now. A lot of people made fun of Mantic and kind of gave them crap that the game didn't have enough fluff and that it wasn't really developed a world. Now there's like 50 pages of it. And that's not including the stuff at the beginning of every single army entry. But then you get your standard stuff. You get your rules and you get all your army lists and you get your magic items. And there's still rules in here for doing certain things like playing timed games. So what's different? Well, first of all, let's just talk about what's different from book to book, not even in terms of the rules. There's no campaign system in here anymore. Although, honestly, that's not a huge bummer to me because I always thought the campaign system was kind of mostly because it made elves completely worthless because you could never upgrade them because they already had the elite rule, which was the only thing you could do to upgrade units. Although one thing I will say I really liked in the 1st edition that I wish they had kept in 2nd edition was the rules for doing siege warfare, because it's a neat touch and not a lot of games have these kinds of rules. But who knows, maybe we'll see it in an expansion. Speaking of expansions, you no longer need this book because all the magic rules and army lists that are in here are now in the main rulebook, and the army lists, well, at least some of them, have been expanded. The other thing that's different is the army lists. The Twilight Kin, of all things, got unceremoniously booted out of the book, although they do have an army list online that you can still download for free and use your old Warhammer Dark Elves with. And instead, they've been replaced with Forces of the Abyss. Now, that's really the only army that changed. Everything else just moved from one book to the next. And I'm okay with that. I mean, Twilightkin didn't really have much going on, but there's like 12 armies in this thing, and they've all got plenty of units to pick from, so whatever. Speaking of army lists, for those of you coming over from Warhammer Fantasy, now that this is the lone supreme king, get it? Of army scale 28mm fantasy war games, thanks to GW doing this. Good job, idiot. Mantic has put up 3 army lists now for Twilightkin, Ratkin, and the Herd for your Skaven, Dark Elves, and Beastmen players that aren't in the official book yet, but they'll probably be out in expansion. So, what's changed rules-wise? Well, not a whole lot. A couple of things. The basic mechanics have stayed pretty much the same, but they've added a few neat little touches. For starters, army building has changed. In 1st edition, it was based on solid units, which was 20 or more infantry or 10 or more cavalry and what have you. And it was kind of weird that, terminology. Now it's just regiments and hordes. If you have a regiment, you can get 2 troops, and then you can get your pick of either a hero, monster, or war machine. If you have a horde, or a legion, as some armies have, you can get 4 troops, and then you get your pick of one of each of a hero, a monster, and a war machine. So hordes give you a bigger selection of units and they let you pick more individuals and war machines and monsters and stuff like that than taking regiments do. But they aren't like hordes in Warhammer Fantasy where they were highly encouraged because they gave you some silly special rules just to sell more models. So yeah, I really like that. It streamlines it a bit more and makes it a little simpler to understand things. The other big rules change is there's now a thing called countercharging, where if a unit gets charged and they survive the attack, they can countercharge that unit that attacked them, any unit that attacked them, on their turn. Even if they got charged in the flank. So it means if you get charged in your flank or in your rear, you aren't just completely screwed. Your unit can now just pivot, make contact, and fight. So there's no like extra complicated, oh, well, now you have to wheel around them and blah, 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 blah. Instead, it's a nice, simple, logical system. You just turn and fight. There's no bull crap. There's no extraneous, just nonsense to drag things out. And then some of the magic items and special rules have changed to do different things, like phalanx is now different, but whatever. Those aren't the big changes. The two big ones are army building and the counter charge. So at the end of the day, Mantic's done good work. They went from what I considered a good system that was really fun, but had room for improvement, to, well, that game with the improvements that it needed. There's some stuff that I feel like could be included. I'm anxious to see what they do for a campaign system, because I really do like them. I just think the one in here was a little weak. And with Kings of War now being the standalone 28mm fantasy game, oh, Games Workshop, you really know what your fans want, don't you? And since this is now going to be the official game of most tournaments here in the US, I definitely say it's worth checking out. It's a solid game. It's a fun game. This new edition fixes pretty much everything I didn't like about first edition. Yeah, it's still, if it's not your turn, you literally do nothing the whole time, but whatever. I can get over it because the rest of the game is that good. So if you want a mass army fantasy battle game that's actually going to be supported and not cut off by its creators, who are a bunch of incompetent meerkats in suits, check out Kings of War. You can still use your old armies, you can use your Warhammer miniatures, nobody cares. Just try it. Check out the rules. They're free online. If you like it, buy the book. It's worth it. It's a very nice book, and having all the army lists is great. Now, I don't usually plug other people's stuff in our videos, but one thing I do want to mention is there will be a link below for Easy Army for Kings of War, which is just an online force builder. They used to do it for Flames of War, and then that got bought by Battlefront, and now it's like a pay-to-use thing. But if you want to be able to build an army in Kings of War real quick, real easy, check it out. I'll put the link below. It's really cool. I use it. So yeah, Kings of War 2nd Edition fixes the problems I had with 1st Edition, and it's a phenomenal game. So check it out, guys. So guys, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Be sure to keep it here for more reviews, unboxings, gameplay, what have you. Don't forget you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter by checking out the links below. Don't forget to go back the Battletech Kickstarter, because that looks awesome. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. We'll be checking them every now and then. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.